Hey guys, welcome back to our Kettlebell 101 series. I'm Stu. For those of you who are tuning in for the first time, I will point out this is a series we've had, there's a number of videos that precede this one in that series where we get into a few of the more foundational elements of kettlebells and some of the elements that we've actually been building upon in these subsequent videos. So you may want to consider pausing and going back and watching some of the other videos if you haven't already had an opportunity to do that. For today's video, maybe for the next couple of videos, I just want to shift gears a little bit. All of the previous exercises that we did really were more upper body in terms of their focus, so working the core and the upper body, shoulders, arms. And I think there is a misconception that kettlebells really are only useful for working upper body, but that's couldn't be further from the truth. There's lots of examples of lower body exercises where we can leverage the kettlebell. We're going to do a few of those. Today we're going to focus on squats, which anybody who's been working out for any amount of time will probably recognize as a pretty key element in anyone's repertoire. We'll talk about lunges in the next video, just as two examples. But you know, certainly there is lots of ways you can incorporate from a full body perspective. As always, safety first. Two things I want to point out. Hopefully, before you start any exercise, you do some warm-up. So if you haven't had a chance to warm up, again, maybe pause and do a quick warm-up. A couple of thoughts. I just did some skipping just to get myself warmed up and ready to go. If you have a skipping rope, I think it's a great option. Other thing is, one of the previous videos we talked about around the body swings. Great warm-up as well. Do 15, do a couple minutes of upper body swings with some change in direction. It'll get you nice and loose and limber. The most important thing with kettlebells, again from a safety perspective, is we treat the bell with respect. And you recall me from the previous videos saying the best way to do that is to treat every kettlebell as if it weighs 88 pounds. Even if it weighs 8 pounds, still treat it like it does. And the way we're addressing the kettlebell, the way we're picking up the kettlebell, that we don't take anything for granted in it. And as always, in anything we're doing, I'm trying to give you building blocks that you can use to create your own personalized series of circuits, or that you can incorporate into other exercise components that you have in your fitness routine. So there's not necessarily any right way to do things. There's certainly some wrong ways to do it. But I'll channel my inner Sean Mosen, who is the founder of Agatsu, who taught me kettlebells, and his number one criteria in terms of evaluating or when supervising his students, and something that I believe strongly in, is in anything you do, really should be two criteria. Is it safe? Obviously, if it's not safe, we shouldn't be doing it. And if we were here and we were in a class setting and I saw you doing something that was safe and that could potentially injure you or injure somebody else, I'd stop you. But the second element of it is it moving you towards your goal? So there might be things that are definitely safe, but they aren't necessarily moving you towards your goal. So I wouldn't necessarily maybe stop you, but I might ask you, what you're hoping to achieve. So think about those two elements: safety, obviously, and then what am I getting out of this? Is this moving me towards my goal? So switching gears to the topic for today. So lower body, specifically on squats. So there are a number of different ways that we can utilize kettlebells in our squats. We're going to show a few different variations of it. I would encourage you to try all of them. I would encourage you to vary them sometimes. So muscle confusion is not necessarily a bad thing. Although you may certainly have a preference or gravitate towards one or two or three of the different versions of it. So, most important things again, in squats we're going to be safe. I'm going to start out with probably the most effective, depending on what your objective. If your objective is to build strength into your core, you want to obviously lift heavier. So one of the things we covered in one of the previous videos was the rack position. So, moving the bell up into rack, and you recall rack is, like prayer in yoga, but with the bell in our hand in a stable position, either single arm or double arm. So for this version of squat, what we're going to do is we're going to work with 2 bells, and we're going to focus on swinging them up into the double rack position, and then we're going to execute the squat from there. So what that looks like, again, addressing the bells as we would, being careful, and always, being mindful of our form. Swing the bells up into the rack position. One of the things you'll recall we talked about is that when you're racking 2 bells, one of the things you probably want to do is open your hands, open your fingers, and then interlock them together. That way you're not smashing your hands, but it gives you a nice stable position. So I've got the 2 bells in rack, so they should feel nice and stable and should feel like they're resting in a good place. I shouldn't feel like I'm leaning too far back. I shouldn't feel like I'm too far forward. I like this position for squat. I feel like this placement of the weights, for me, keeps me in a good position all the way down and all the way back up. So again, important things in squats are that we're mindful of our back. I like to go nice and deep in my squat, below parallel if possible, and execute it back up. So again, in control, bells in a good stable position, keeping sort of my eyes on the horizon. Again, nice stable position, pushing straight up from a control point from the bottom. So, double bell in the rack position for the squat. So, option 1, give that a try. If you find that's too heavy for you, go to a lighter bell, but again, I would encourage you to challenge yourself. Again, once you swing the bells up into that rack position, you should feel good and stable. The bells should feel like they're in a good spot. And again, we're leveraging our large muscles, so I got 16s here, so 32 kilograms, definitely less than I would typically squat if I was in the gym in the rack with the Olympic bar, but I can tell you I certainly felt that. So that's option 1. Option 2 is we can use 1 kettlebell, and there's a couple variations on this. So two ways that you can squat using a single bell. And if you recall in the very first video when we talked about orienting ourselves around the bell, we talked about the bell and these 2 parts of the bell on the sides of the handle referring to the horn. So, certainly one option when you are squatting with a single bell is you can grab the bell by the horns, hold it in kind of nice and tight to your body. Feel like you've got your elbows kind of like compressed into your body, nice and stable. The bell is nice in a nice stable position. Shouldn't be too far out. Shouldn't feel like you're leaning too far back, but it should feel like good and stable. So the bell. Nice squat position again. Typically toes facing forward or just rotated a little bit out. You can also, if you want to do a variation, do something like a sumo squat. For this one, I'm going to do a regular squat. So again, executing down and pushing straight back up. Down, straight back up. So that's option 1 in a single bell squat. I will actually tell you that that's not my favorite. The next one that I'm going to show you is actually my preference when I'm doing a single bell squat. And the only thing I don't like about squatting with a single bell, holding with kind of the bell down, is that I feel I don't get quite as good a range of motion. So the second option is what I prefer, which I would call, squatting again with the bell. Again, I'm holding the bell by the horns. In this case, though, I'm going to have the bell up. So virtually the same. It's just instead of the bell pointing down, I've got the bell pointing up. I actually find this requires a little bit more effort for me to hold the bell up. I'm actually kind of pushing against that weight. I feel like it keeps me nice and stable. But the most important thing is I feel like I can get a lot deeper into the squat. Like my arms are not running into my thighs. I feel like I can get nice and deep in the squat, and I feel like when I'm pushing straight up, it's keeping my arms, my shoulders, and kind of I keep myself in a better position. So again, bell up, nice and low, below parallel, and then just flip the bell back over. So there you have it, squat. Again, different versions. If you want to do more of a sumo squat, you can do double arm sumo squat. You can do with a single bell, either facing up or facing down. I encourage you to try both. Again, I prefer up. But you know, that's great exercise to now start to incorporate into your circuits. So you're starting to develop a pretty good repertoire between this and what we covered before. So certainly encourage you now to start stitching together some circuits. And for those of you who are new to kettlebells, you're a beginner, or you're just getting back into exercise, just start with 2 minutes. Doesn't sound like a lot, but a 2-minute circuit, you'll find, you know, and maybe go for, you know, 5 2-minute circuits with, you know, 2-minute rest in between. You'll be pretty cooked. So you should have a lot of elements. Just start to think, you know, maybe do double arm swing, single arm swing, do some around the body, maybe incorporate some squats, come back, do some more around the body, maybe do some snatch on both arms, do some more around the bodies, and then maybe some clean and jerks, and then some more around the body. So you've got a pretty good repertoire there that you can start to incorporate. I am a bigger fan of actually having, you know, not doing an excessive amount of reps and doing more sets. So I would like to see you do maybe, you know, no more than, you know, 10 to 15, or, you know, even 5. So if you're doing double arm, maybe do 5, 5, 5, and then maybe another 5, versus, you know, banging out like 15 or 20. I'd rather see you do multiple sets. So anyways, off you go. You've got another tool in your kettlebell arsenal here with squats.